So we have the monster staring down at the Iron Man laying amongst the flames, and the Iron Man just laying there, just like it was a Sunday afternoon lying on his bed, with all the flames licking around him, and he's smiling up at the monster. The flames became fiercer. The grid became red hot. The Iron Man's hair and elbows and toes became red hot. His body became first blue, then black, then began to glow dully. He was getting red hot. Still he smiled up at the monster, and still the flames grew fiercer. And now the Iron Man was entirely red hot. Pretty soon he was almost white hot. That's even hotter than red hot. And still he smiled out of white hot eyes and with white hot lips. And all the time the Space Bat Angel Dragon stared down in astonishment. But now the fuel oil was all burned away. Suddenly the flames died, flickered and went. They all went out completely. The white hot Iron Man sat up, stood up, got stiffly off his glowing bed and began to walk to and fro on the sand, cooling. He cooled slowly. He went from white to orange, from orange to red, red to black as he walked, coolly swinging his arms. Now at last he spoke to the monster. If you can't bear to be made red hot like me, then you are weaker than I am, and I have won, and you are my slave. The monster began to laugh. All right, he roared, build the fire and I'll lie on it. He laughed again. He knew the Iron Man couldn't build a fire the size of Australia. But then his laugh stopped. The Iron Man was pointing upwards at the sun. There is the fire for you, he shouted. You go lie there. Go and lie in the sun till you are red hot. The monster gazed up at the sun. He felt strangely cold inside, but how could he refuse? All right. And he set off. With slow giant wing beats, he lifted his immense body off the earth and flew slowly up towards the sun while the whole earth watched. Slowly he covered the distance, getting smaller and smaller as he went. At last he landed, a ragged black shape sprawled across the sun. Everybody watched, and now they saw the monster begin to glow. Blue at first, then red, then orange. Finally, his shape was invisible, the same blazing white as the sun itself. The monster was white hot on the sun. Then they saw him returning, a blazing shape tearing itself from the sun. His shape became red as it flew. It was writhing and growing larger. Slowly once more it became the black bat-winged shape of the dragon flying back to earth. Down and down, bigger and bigger, cooling as he came, until, bump, he landed, this time much more heavily than before on Australia. He landed so heavily that all over the world bells tumbled out of church towers and birds' eggs were jarred out of their nests. The monster stared down at the Iron Man. But it was hardly the same monster. His horns drooped. His face was white, wizened and black. His claws were scorched blunt. His crest flopped over limply, and great ragged holes were burned in his wings. It had been terrible for him on the fires of the sun. But he had done it, and here he was. The fires of the sun are far, far hotter than any fires here on earth can ever be. There, he roared, I've done it. I didn't expect, this is not the book, I'm saying this. I didn't expect him to be able to do it, did you? I really thought that the monster was going to frazzle on the sun and that would be the end of it. Anyway, the Iron Man nodded. But his answer was to signal to the engineers. Once more they poured oil into the trough under the grid. Once more they lit it. Once more the flames roared up and the black smoke billowed up into the clear blue. Once more the Iron Man stretched himself out on the grid of the raging furnace. That's 5 minutes again. I've got to go. Back in a minute.